So I'm just going to ramble a little bit here. I'm sitting on the roof of the house in which I stay here in Viswema, which is south of the larger town in Nagaland called Kohima, and I'm on the roof here looking at the peak to the west, and how the clouds are forming around the peak, and at the top of the peak is a cross. People around here are generally Baptists. In this small town, there is a revivalist church, the sort of regular Baptist church, and a Catholic church. I think that's probably the totality of the population in this particular village. In Kohima, larger places, of course, have all kinds of other religious groups. But that's not what I was thinking about mentioning. What I was thinking about mentioning is that here I am in the northeast India, in this most beautiful place, such fresh. The air is just vibrant here. I guess I take that back in one again right away. It depends on where you are, because people here supply their homes. Many people still cook and have all their heat from wood burning, not even stoves, but very often just open fires inside their homes with vents in the ceiling. And that happens even in a sort of more, let's say, modern village like Viswema, where I am now. So I can already now in the evening feel the smell of wood smoke, even though, and fortunately now though, there's a little breeze, because it's been raining off and on today. So there's a breeze clearing the air. But what I was going to talk about is, I just sat here, thinking, looking up at that peak and thinking about my friend Tori Wag, who just passed away, and how that is sad, and how it saddens me. It always does when someone passes away. It feels to me, I know people have different ways of reacting to these things, but for me it's like there becomes like a moment of a sense of a void, and I can't escape that. I can't just say, oh, it's wonderful because he's passing on to a new this or new that, or he's going to be taken care of by the divine. For me, I'm not there yet. I feel a void. I feel a sadness and a sense of emptiness. And so unfortunately, that's kind of how I feel. And then I also know that that's going to disappear. And I just moments ago had a wonderful encounter with many kids in this town. They came running up to me. Somebody sort of broke the ice. A young boy broke the ice by starting to talk to me, and then they all kind of follow suit. And they wanted to take a picture. They wanted to ask me about America and about whatever they are curious about. But they wanted to know also if I knew famous people. so that's what culture is. Which then brings me to the next thing that I thought of talking about just very briefly, is that I am also connected here. So that's how come I found out about Tori. I found out through the Facebook, and of course I'm posting on Facebook, and I really enjoy the process of communicating and getting feedback from home, and it's nice to share, and to on some level just. Is it boasting? I'm not sure it's boasting exactly, but it is sharing in my joy. And I really enjoy doing what I'm doing out here. Just essentially today, doing not much, but again, being out in the little village and seeing the ubiquitous piles of firewood, in this case, in this village, the red and white painted brick retaining walls, the stone paths, the occasional pigsty in amongst the buildings, very narrow little paths between the houses. And suddenly in amongst the path, there's a little grave, because the Angami people, they tend to, I'm sure not all of the family members, but some honored family members are buried right at the house, right at the front door, basically, and in some cases with quite an elaborate marble carved stone of a memorial. Another thing that happens is that you see women weaving. It's a real tradition here of women weaving. You see roosters and chickens, the occasional goat, all of that inside the village. And the fact that it's so steep in many places reminds me of Big Sur, in that in the old days when Doug Madsen, some of you know this, Doug Madsen, and when he was with John Lemore, they had this kind of a place. It reminds me of that, because suddenly you walk and at eye level there is suddenly a pig because it's elevated through these rock retaining walls and rock steps, and also bamboo figures everywhere, buildings, support for scaffolding, support for construction. And I don't think that it's permanent, because I know that bamboo doesn't last very long, but temporary, it is used everywhere for so much, of course, including eating bamboo shoots. So it's a big part of this culture here. Yesterday I went to Zuleki, it's called. So I had a friend or a driver, Kevi, we drove out there to Zuleki, and on the road we suddenly saw this kind of long but very thin, almost fluorescent snake. And I found out later that it's a type of viper, and that one should be very careful with those. Although I also heard that it's very rare around here for people to get bitten. And that was sort of contradicted in a sense by an anecdote from a friend of mine in Mokochung, or a person that I got to know up there. His name was Jamir, and he told me that his aunt in 2004, or so a while ago, she was like in her mid-30s. She was out in the field, in the paddy or somewhere in the field, and stepped down and got bitten in the ankle. And she went to the hospital and she was dead by the morning. So it happens, but it's apparently very rare. But anyway, yesterday I got to see a couple of interesting things. One is the mitoon, the very large ox-like or bull-like animal that is sort of semi-domesticated here. Huge horns and very fierce looking in a way. You probably don't want to get into an argument with one of those full-grown mitoons. I also hiked out into the jungle, maybe, 3,000, well, how far did we get in? Maybe 500 meters, so not very very far. So a couple of thousand feet inside the jungle. It's like Jungle Book in there, with so many plants, so many different kind of plants, and it's dripping everywhere from moist, and it's growing. You sort of sense the intense, exchange of oxygen and so on, and the water is trickling down the creek. We were walking down the creek, up the creek bed, and incidentally got our feet and lower bodies filled with leeches, which you had to kind of get off your body before they got into it or bit into you. My guide there, Kevi, he actually got one leech that bit into him, and it wasn't super easy for him to get it out, but he did get it out. And these were small. He said after halfway through the monsoon period, they first of all get even more plentiful, and they grow during the during the monsoon period, apparently. So anyway, once we're up high up into the jungle there, suddenly outside, suddenly right in front of us, there's a big buffalo, and my guide Kev, he stopped, and I said, "Is this okay for us to pass?" And he said, "Maybe not." So there was a big buffalo that kind of blocked our way. So that became our end point, and we returned from there back to where we came from. But that was interesting to see a buffalo so far up into the jungle. What else happened? Not much. This was kind of what I wanted to say this evening. Again, now it's clouding over. It looks like it's going to rain. I was actually hoping that the sun was going to break through from behind that peak during the sunset now and illuminate the edge of that peak and illuminate, backlight the big cross up there. It would have been a beautiful sight, but that didn't happen. So anyway, again, thanks for paying attention to what I say, and I'll just let you know that looking out over this little village gives me such joy.